No doubt in the past, you've all heard me talk about Justin Trudeau and the Liberals' terrible polling numbers, their awful fundraising, and the fact that Justin Trudeau, as the Prime Minister of the country, cannot seemingly attract flies to any of the events he holds. Those are all signs the Liberals are definitely not going to win the 2025 election. But truly, the most glorious sign that the Liberals are not going to win is that their own MPs think that Justin Trudeau is a drain on the party's popularity. When you're losing your own MPs from safer areas of the country, you know it's pretty much over. And before I play the clip of Ken McDonald talking about how bad Trudeau's leadership is and the fact that he had to recant it, I just want to quickly mention that I, Wyatt Claypool, am running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. If you live in this riding, except for the Greenbrier and Bowness area, they're being cut out when riding boundaries change in April. If you live in this riding, check out my website in the description below, WyattClaypool.com. Buy a membership, support me. We want to make sure red Tories don't occupy safe conservative seats. There's a lot of pro-lockdown people running for my nomination, some people who are in charge of censorship at Facebook, all this stuff. But they're sneaking in pretending to be blue Tories now, even though they were all Aaron O'Toole fans as of a few years ago. Anyways, here's this great clip from the CBC of Ken McDonald being very, very candid about his own constituents' feelings about Justin Trudeau.
As the rest of the country, it's a there's almost a hatred out there right now for Prime Minister Trudeau.
You feel it?
Yeah, oh yeah, I hear it. I hear it.
At the door?
At the doors, at events I go to, people will bring it up. Somebody will send me an email and say, like, if you're on next time, Ken, I had an email recently, and this gentleman who I've worked with in a certain organisation since I've been elected, and he said, the only thing that will hurt you in the next election is your leader.
What do you think about that?
I think he's close to the sentiment of the majority of people in the country right now.
So does that mean he should go?
I think that's the decision he has to make. I don't think it's up to me or anyone else in the House of Commons to say they think he should leave or resign or give up or whatever.
So next election, are you worried that for Atlantic Canada that the Conservatives could make gains?
Oh, I think they will make gains.
The Conservatives?
Canada. Yes, yeah, I think they will. I don't think anybody will sweep it like we did in 2015. It'll probably split a lot more evenly, I think. If the election were held tomorrow, I think it would probably split pretty evenly between Conservatives and Liberals.
How do you explain that?
The government now of the day, the Liberal government, is getting an old government. People are maybe thinking it's time for a change. I mean,
those are great comments from Ken McDonald. I still disagree with him on a lot of points there, like him just saying, well, it's because the government's getting old that people are sort of turning on us, or the fact that he thinks that the next election is not going to be a massive blowout for the Conservatives. The Conservatives are easily going to win it by more than the Liberals' 2015 numbers. It is going to be a slaughter. But think about from this perspective. Ken McDonald is obviously, you can just tell from the accent, a Newfoundland Liberal. He is from the riding of Avalon. He won that riding last time with 50% of the vote, the previous time 46, and the previous time before that 55. This is a safe Liberal seat. He wins it by at least a 15-point margin. Nobody can win that riding. Maybe in the next election, Ken McDonald still probably won't lose that riding. And yet, he's saying that people are coming up to him in his riding at events, probably Liberal Party events. He's not just going to community events. And these people sound like, the way that Ken's phrasing it, very respectful towards him. They like Ken. They don't like Trudeau. And this is what I've said in so many videos. It's not that the Western conservative person just hates Trudeau so much and their fiery momentum is going to throw Trudeau out of office. What's throwing Trudeau out of office, because the Western conservatives, like myself, have always been against Trudeau. What's throwing Trudeau out of office is the people around the GTA donut, the people around the Montreal donut, people in BC, and people in the Maritimes who were soft Liberals before, and they might have been very patient with Trudeau, far more patient than they should have been, but now they're just like, he's just doing a bad job, he's not focusing on the right priorities, and they're even phrasing this in such a way that they might still vote Liberal and vote for Ken McDonald in their riding of Avalon if Trudeau wasn't around. And this, again, proves my theory that the Liberal Party is just Justin Trudeau at this point. Whenever you look at the polling from Abacus Data, because I think they do the best job on this, the polling for Trudeau's approval rating is usually around these days like 25, 26%, 24%. The Liberal Party's polling almost matches Justin Trudeau's approval rating exactly. Because if you don't like Trudeau, you're not voting Liberal. And it was hilarious to watch today. Ken McDonald had to come out and release a statement saying that, well, hey, I didn't really mean what I said, and I was just, speaking off the cuff about some concerns there were in my riding. This was his direct quote. This is a CBC article, obviously, because it was a follow-up from the CBC interview. It said, in a statement sent Thursday morning, McDonald walked back his comments, insisting he wasn't calling for a leadership review. Quote, the intent of my recent public comments was not to personally call for a leadership review, and I'm not calling for one now, said McDonald, the member of parliament for Newfoundland's Avalon riding. And that's pretty much all he said. That literally, despite the state, literally the article just goes on to, rehashing what he had said in the interview and why he was obviously having to distance himself from it. For some little background in Ken McDonald, he is the guy who flipped off Conservative members in Parliament a couple months ago that got him into hot water. But he is also the guy who ended up having to vote against the carbon tax or vote with Poilievre and the Conservatives to call for an end to the carbon tax. Because people sometimes forget out west, Newfoundland's a big natural gas province now. And that province, it's funnily enough, it probably didn't have the natural gas and energy industry. They would be voting Liberal in even harder numbers than they are now. Parts of the province might go blue. And it's because the Liberals' carbon tax have been deeply hurting timers. This is why Trudeau pulled that stunt and paused the carbon tax on heater oil, because he's at least hoping to shore up his base of some of the Maritimers, giving them some tax relief so they'll come back, vote for Trudeau, because Trudeau does provide, through equalization and through other benefits, a lot of stuff to the Maritimes, a lot of social fiscal benefits. And so he's trying to get some people on side. I still don't think it's that how it's going to work. People are not just going to get a heater oil exemption and vote Liberal again. It only applied to about 40% of maritime residents. I think it's mostly like Newfoundlandish areas that are a lot of people on it. Even those people, even if they get the tax exemption, I think they realize that the carbon tax is still hurting their natural gas industry a lot. And Ken McDonald understands that. That's why he voted with the Conservatives. Trudeau, and this is where I always have comments saying, well, Trudeau's going to win anyway. He's going to get a bunch of CCP money. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to get some big donors to come in and save him in terms of the fundraising. He's not. He's really not. And the thing is that I think that because Trudeau is such a nasty and duplicitous individual, people have this idea of him as being a very almost savvy and competent manipulator. He's not. Justin Trudeau got away for a few elections. One, he actually used to be kind of charismatic. I didn't vote for him, definitely, but he used to actually be able to project some charisma back in 2015. And since then, he's been leaning harder and harder on the media to just basically dispel any criticisms of him and say that it's from right-wing cranks or it's from people who don't understand policy issues. And experts come out and say, actually, it doesn't matter that you're getting taxed harder and your benefits from the government are less, and social services are slower and all this stuff. Actually, Trudeau's doing a great job. People do not trust the media anymore, and that's been the strongest blow to the Liberals, is that people are not flipping on the TV, hearing the news basically downplay all the economic concerns of Canadians and say, well, I guess it's not that bad. People feel it now, and so they're not coming back. Trudeau is not a master manipulator, and again, a lot of the CCP interference in the 2021 election was in very select ridings. The CCP could only manipulate the election probably only in 21, because now they're so exposed. If they did it again, it would be immediately the biggest story that the CCP is trying to back up the Liberals, and it would hurt the Liberals everywhere. The CCP could only manipulate elections where there is a high population of people who were born in mainland China, who moved to Canada, and who the CCP have direct access to in a concentrated riding where they can pressure them into voting Liberal. It's not happening this election. There's no trick he can pull. There is no WEF scheme that there can be made that can be manifest before next election to do anything. At the end of the day, and this is why I always tell people, this is why I reject both the hyper-progressive left and the populist right. Not all populists. I know some people call themselves populist. I'm talking about very, very kind of emotionally reactionary individuals. Whenever they talk about, well, he's establishment and the establishment's going to rig it. You don't realize that the establishment is not nearly as competent as you think. The establishment, for the most part, is the only reason that they're good at what they do is because they don't try to do too much. That's why the NDP always does far worse in federal elections than the Liberals. The Liberals know what their domain that they have to stay in is if they want to keep a big moderate coalition. When I say moderate, I'm of course saying mostly center-left, a little bit of center-right. There's some people who will vote for the Liberals because they're like social liberals, even though they're fiscal conservatives. But the Liberals now have done too much. They've become like the NDP. They're messing with too much stuff. Universal dental did no favors for the Liberals. The $10 a day childcare did nothing. A lot of these extra other climate programs, all this stuff, it's not doing anything for the Liberals anymore, because the Liberals' base was always a lot of pensioners, and it was always a lot of other people who were maybe concerned with social service spending. They wanted stability. And in Canada, because we've always had big spending Liberal governments, promising to be a big spending Liberal government and not rock the boat too much generally was a good play. Trudeau has gone over the top, so now he's scaring all those people and they're running away from him. The Liberals always did really well with 60-plus voters. Now the Conservatives are winning them in wild numbers, and I get so many comments from people saying, I used to vote Liberal in Eastern Canada up until 2019 or even 2021. Not anymore, because he's now putting my financial position at risk, no matter what benefits he tries to promise me, no matter what rebates I get. It's not working anymore. This is why women are not voting for the Liberals anymore. Now the Conservatives are winning women, because the thing is that the Conservatives are actually promising stability. Yes, they are cutting wasteful spending, but everyone understands that eventually a household has to cut their credit card debt off somehow. And right now the Liberals going after Poilievre, and the Conservatives saying, well, you guys are going to make cuts. Yes, they're going to make cuts. Yes, if I'm an MP, yes, I'm going to make cuts, because there's woke garbage being funded. There's stupid, bloated programs that aren't benefiting anybody. There's all this kind of different housing acceleration funds are not building a single new house. They're just throwing money at municipalities and promising that they might build the houses that are currently under construction a little faster. Nobody's under the impression that the spending is helping. Our budget in 2015 or 2014 under Harper, it was like $229 billion or something like that, $249 billion. Right now, our budget's like $429 billion. It's almost doubled. That's not a natural increase in spending. And that's outside of COVID-era spending. We've gotten past all the COVID-era spending that people say, well, it's a one-time thing. We are past the one-time thing spending, and we're almost double what our budget was 10 years ago. Our population definitely hasn't doubled. It's just the stupidity of the Liberals has doubled. It's just that they've gotten themselves in so many political traps and political, corners that they ended up spending more money and trying to buy votes. And buying votes only works for so long until people realize the inflation is outpacing the benefits the government's trying to throw at them to stay voting Liberal. The heater oil thing will not help, because in the Maritimes, people are already taxed to death, both provincially and federally. The heater oil exemption is a very, very small band-aid to a very, very bloody wound. Anyways, that's pretty much it for me today. Again, Wyatt Claypool, I'm running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. If you live in that running, please vote for me. Buy a Conservative Party membership. It's $15 for 1 year. Buy it. Check out my website, WyattClaypool.com. Support me. There's a lot of pro-lockdown people in the race, like people who went to Hawaii during the lockdowns that they were enforcing. People who go to Liberal fundraisers are in my riding. There's people who were big O'Toole supporters. There's one guy whose only criticism of the Liberals is that they lack focus. If you think that the way of summing up the Liberals is that they lack focus, you've been unfocused. You do not know what's going on in this country, and you're just saying mild things, hoping that you're not too controversial for people. It's sad. Again, there's a lady who was literally in charge of policy at Facebook Canada who was proud about censoring misinformation during COVID. A lot of red Tories are trying to make their way to this riding to take it over. Vote for me, number one. Michael Kim is a good number two. We need to keep our actual strong conservative ridings. The biggest threat right now to the Conservatives is red Tories taking over in certain ridings that they should not be in, and then stalling good reforms that need to be made when Poilievre becomes the prime minister. That is our biggest threat. It is weak Conservatives who won't do what needs to be done once the government actually takes power, a conservative government. Anyways, then I also have my legal fundraiser in the description of this video below. So if you want to chip in any money, it helps myself, the National Telegraph. We're in a stupid lawsuit with a billionaire. We caught him, giving money to Aaron O'Toole when Aaron O'Toole was supposed to be a tough on China guy, and this guy is very pro-Beijing. It's very easy to prove. He's never been able to file any evidence to show that we've lied or said anything dishonest. All of our evidence was actually from a Globe and Mail article about him, other than us showing he was donating to O'Toole. it's nonsense, but he's just throwing money at us to try and bankrupt us, assuming he'd get a fake apology out of us. We do not fake apologize. We just win, and that's it. So if you want to donate to that, give some go links in the description, and I'll see you guys in my next video or live stream.